Hi, and thank you for joining me today. If you're here with me, it's probably because you'd like to improve the quality of service your team and your company are providing to your callers. You already know it's important and you'd like to see your team get better. So we have a few goals. Overall, I want to give you some practical guidelines and solutions for improving the quality of service that you guys give to your callers. I believe this will help you convert more jobs, generate more revenue, and increase return business to your company. We're going to go ahead and focus on a few areas and discuss some tactics that can help to develop immediate returns for you if you're willing to implement some of them. The first place we're going to visit is the importance of listening and hearing the needs from each person who reaches you. We'll also talk about how to be more consistent with your team. Maybe you have some stars and some not so stars. I want to help you find some tools to help the not so stars achieve more consistently in line with your expectations. And then finally, we'll talk about some really simple methods for giving your callers a wow experience. So who are we at Dexcom? What do we know? We've been in the answering service and call center industry since 1954. We've had the same owner and company president since 1989, so we've been continuously operated since then. We're involved in several industry organizations, and in some cases, we've served on boards of those organizations. We provide training and consulting to other call centers, specifically with scripting and customer service methods. Our clients include many in the home servicing sector, as well as a broad range of other industries. We have achieved the Award of Excellence. It's a secret shopper program from Camex and ATSI for more than 25 years collectively between the two of those. And we've achieved the top 10 in those awards many times, including just in 2020, we just got news that we were in the top 10 for a Camex Award of Excellence. So that's 10 of the top. That's top 10 of probably over 100 so call centers that are participating in that. And then in the last 3 years, a group of over 30 call centers has participated in an Agent of the Year award, again, based on a secret shopper program. And we've been excited that a Dexcom agent has placed as the top call in 2 of those 3 years that the program's been around. We're really excited about those agents. So we know a little bit about taking good calls here. My name is Carl. I've been with Dexcom since 2005. I came on while I was in a grad school program and I was needing a way to earn some cash to pay some bills. I started as a customer service rep and never left. I've had a variety of different jobs in here at Dexcom, including some training, floor leading, supervision, ops management, and customer management. I have felt personally that my biggest skills have been in customer management, and that's where I've spent most of my time, and where I'm spending my time now, trying to develop relationships with our customers. All right. So why do your calls matter so much? Anybody can do it, right? Anybody can answer the phone. Of course, you know that's wrong, or you probably wouldn't be watching this. You've already spent several minutes with me. A survey by New Voice Media in 2018 found that 67% of customers have become what they call serial switchers. These would be customers who are willing to switch brands or businesses because of a poor customer service experience. Of those, 39% said that when they experienced poor service, they were never going to use the offending company again. Those customers who reported that willingness to or unwillingness to return because of bad experiences overwhelmingly cited experiences that were related to poor in-person or phone service, right? So the vast majority of the reasons that people said they were never going to go back to a business again was the result of bad customer service, either in person or on the phone, and largely on the phone. Looking at the reasons that they cited, it's things like rude or unhelpful employees, not being able to find anyone to speak to who can actually help them, and bad hold times are being passed around to multiple people. All of those things are things that you've probably experienced in your own calls, and would hate to see them happening at your own call centers. So looking at the reasons that people leave and never come back, it's pretty obvious that it's important to take care of your callers. So we're going to discuss some of those, some ways to help you do that today. First, I really think that it starts with listening. The same survey that we discussed showed that 86% of customers surveyed said that if there was an emotional connection with the customer service agent, they'd be willing to continue business, even if they had a bad experience in some other manner. So maybe they didn't get what they expected, there was a problem, or otherwise, but an emotional connection formed with a customer service person at the business would save their business. Okay, so at the same time, only 30% of people felt like they'd even had an emotional connection interaction in the past year with any business that they'd sought out. So it's not possible to make that emotional connection over the phone with any customer without listening to them first. And that goes the same in your own personal life, face to face, but you have to start with listening to build a connection. Now, listening is a skill that can come naturally to some people, but not to others. But it is a skill and it can be learned and practiced. It's not, that doesn't mean it's not achievable. You just have to work at it. So as call center managers or business owners, it's really important that we at least give our team and agents some help so that we're not putting obstacles in their way. Okay. So the first thing that I'd encourage you to do is to just eliminate multitasking for your agents. It's hard to get dialed into every phone conversation that we have. We can't see the person's gestures or their facial expressions. And so multitasking is going to make it so much harder to listen and catch everything that's going on with them. I think you're probably already obviously watching out for agents who are kind of doing their own multitasking. That would be things like being on online chat, social media, or on their cell phones. Those are obvious distractions that you probably have identified that are going to take away from their work on the phone and make the customer experience worse. You've known it for years and you're probably policing it in your own call center already. But I'd like to encourage you to think about the multitasking that you're demanding of them on your own. If you've got, for instance, your call center agents like running reports or worrying about some kind of paperwork or other work tasks that are unrelated to what they're doing on the phone, you're taking their responsibility away from the customer in that moment, and you're making it impossible for them to listen and to really hear your customer. So obviously there's downtime in call centers and in slow times, and it's good to put your team members to efficiency and getting them to work and support the business in other ways. But please just make sure if they're accountable to that work and responsible for it, you've got some time built in for them to complete it when they do not have to think about the phone ringing. Because if you're asking them to do both at the same time, they're always going to fail the customer because they're always going to try and meet the deadlines that you're putting in front of them first. So if you've got other work that you want to assign to your call center agents, make sure you just give them time to do it where they're not pressured with phone. If they can't do all that work at the same time, if they can't complete that work in their work week, then maybe it's time to look at your staffing models and or their responsibilities and make sure that it all lines up with the customer's needs, which is for them to listen. So the next thing I'd encourage you to look at is loud call centers themselves are a big distraction. Even with things like noise canceling mics that will dampen background noise from bleeding into what your customers might hear on the phone. Your own agents are going to have trouble listening well to your customers in a noisy call center. You can invest in space for your call center agents so that they're maybe not right next to one another. You see a lot of call centers where people are stacked up next to one another, but reducing the density of your call center can help, or just giving them a little bit more space will help them concentrate more on their calls. Besides them not being noisy right next to someone, they're less distracted from talking to their neighbor next to them. The next thing you want to do is maybe make sure your call center isn't a highway for your administrative personnel or your field technicians to walk through, because when your call center is in the middle of multiple different offices and people are trying to get from one place to the next, they inevitably meet in the call center and they talk there, and it is distracting and it creates noise. Also look at things like noise dampening panels or carpeting. If you don't have those things in your office, that will reduce the echo and the noise that just happens from normal talking on the phone. And make sure that you don't have any noisy equipment in the call center. You'd be surprised how often you walk into call centers and you've got somebody sitting right next to a copy machine or a printer that does nothing but make noise all day and makes it hard for them to hear the person that they're talking to. You also want to just get rid of other distractions, not just the noisy ones, but let your call center agents dedicate their time to the person who's on the phone. Don't drop like notes on their desk or pester them with emails while they're on phone calls. With especially post, or not, I guess we're not post COVID yet, but after one of the things that's changed with COVID is that a lot of people have gone home to work, and people are relying a lot more on inter-office chats and things like that. So consider them being unavailable from chat while they're on the phone. Being on those chats is going to distract them from their calls, and it's something that you're putting in their way. Also, things like it's nice to have some white noise, obviously, is in the background can help, but it's not necessarily a bad thing to have some quiet music in the background, but you do want to be careful with music, particularly with if it's on a radio station or a satellite radio that has talk in the middle of it. It's extraordinarily distracting that when you hear those things, or commercials that are going to get in the way of an agent really paying attention to the most important thing, who is your customer, right? Last, I'd like to consider thinking about or rethinking, I should say, call control. Just let them listen. Talk less and just listen. There's a lot of focus on efficiency with call center agents. It is important to be efficient and to not take longer than necessary on a call, because then it affects your labor rates and all the other issues. So while efficiency is important, call control is something to just rethink. It shouldn't come at the expense of the quality of a call. So if you're peppering your call center agents with call time goals that focus more on like getting to the bottom of it and getting off of the call and getting the job booked or whatever that might be, and less on engaging with your caller, it's going to inevitably result in bad experiences and less than satisfied callers. So while efficiency is important, and we're going to talk a little bit about that down the road, but you want to just don't let it ever come at the expense of quality and engagement with your customers. So I'd like to just kind of pause here. And if you're watching this recorded, please feel free to consider these questions as you think about your own team and your own environment there in your office. First, what's the noise level in your call center like? How many different tasks outside of working the phone do you give to your call center agents? And then what value do you place on efficiency compared to the customer experience? Okay, so we've agreed that it's important to listen, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to provide an environment that's conducive to a great experience for the people who call your business, right? Next up, we need to make sure that we are consistent from one person to the next. We've all got outstanding performers on our team, but we need to make sure that we can replicate those outstanding performers with new hires, or the people who don't maybe seem to just be getting it like our superstars do. We want to make sure that everyone understands the objective first when the phone rings. Everybody's got to understand, what's my goal here when I answer the phone for my company. People could be calling your office for a million reasons, and needing a leak fixed or the AC repaired are just two of them. Customers aren't always calling with some immediate need that's going to result in new revenue for you. So it's unlikely that the objective for every call that hits your call center is going to be close a job or sell a maintenance plan. So if that's what you think the objective of every call is, you need to rethink it. Maybe that's the objective. Maybe that's what you want your marketing to do, is to produce calls that are going to do that. But but you know that there's going to be a lot more calls than that, and your agents need to be prepared to handle them. So what is going to be what's going to be an immediate objective that one of your agents can connect to and understand and is meaningful to them? Maybe the objective is find a resolution to the person's need. Or maybe it's make them happy. Maybe it is solve the problem, learn their name. It could be a million easier objectives that are just meaningful and work towards engagement with them. Either way, you just need to determine what you want from your call center agents on all of your calls, not just the revenue producing ones. And then you write it down, and then show your agents and let them know what you expect every time they answer the phone. Once you do that, you'll be able to build a template per se. And what you'll do here is you just want to think about the types of calls that you receive most commonly, the information your team members are going to need from those calls to provide a solution and a meaningful experience to your customer. And then start writing down the things that drive those calls forward. Okay. So if you're, for instance, scheduling jobs for heater repair and you need things like the age of the unit, where it's located, the fuel type, so that the right person can be assigned to that job, use that and build out templates and for lack of a better word, forms, so that your team members can reference it when handling those types of calls. Eventually they're going to memorize those things, but they won't ever do it if you don't build it and help them make a habit of it. There's a lot of web-based call center tools that can help you with this, and CRMs that can do some of this. So consider investing in those if you haven't. But if you haven't, start creating some templates for each call and rolling them out to your team so they know what to expect when they're taking calls. People learn it and they learn their own ways to do things. But if you want consistency, you're going to need to build out some processes that everybody can follow, and then you can start to monitor. That same exercise should result in the development of FAQs, the common objections that you hear when you present callers with opportunities and solutions. Again, it's going to be really important to just write those down and provide the answers that work, so that all of your call center agents are going to have access to them and they can respond consistently. And then your customers get a consistent message. They hear confidence from their people, and your call center agents, again, can start focusing on the more meaningful connection building activities rather than, oh, what do I need to do with this call? How do we handle this? You want to give them those as much as you can in templates and forms, so that they can start to use their skills and not rely on their memory to handle those things. So the last thing you're going to need to do there is start monitoring your team and measuring their success. Monitoring can start with just walking through your call center and listening to people. You'd be surprised at how often people don't listen to anything. All they do, again, is look at outcomes and well, we don't have enough jobs booked today. I noticed that we had 600 calls today, and there's only 20. We only have 25 jobs on the board. What's going on out there? So they're only looking at outputs, and they're only looking at outcomes, and they're not looking at what's going in. So get on your call center floor and listen to people. Invest in equipment that helps you record calls, and then start looking at what makes a call great to you. You're going to want to eventually work out a template so that you can score your agents on common criteria, everybody looking at the same things. And if you want to replicate your outstanding performers, you need to look at not just their results and like the number of jobs they're converting or the number of plans that they're selling. You want to look at the inputs that are going into those results. And that might be the things that they say on the phone. How do they take their calls? How long are their phone calls? What do their customers sound like when they get off the phone with them? All of those things are going to be things that you cannot set standards for without listening and evaluating. So look at those inputs, and then they'll help you drive your outcomes and help make your customers happier. We've arrived here at another moment for reflection. Again, please feel free to pause here and think about these questions and just get started again with us when you're ready. Do your call center personnel know what their goal is before the phone rings? Do you have any forms or standard sets of data to gather for each type of call? And is that written somewhere? And then how do you know how one agent is performing compared to another? All right. So great. We've got a team that's in place. They can listen. You've made your call center a good place for them to focus on their callers. They know what's expected now, and you know how to score them on how well they're meeting the expectations that you set for them. So now let's look at some really I think they're simple tips to wow a caller. There's nothing groundbreaking in this and making a caller feel great. It really is. They're simple to understand. They're hard to master sometimes, and they're hard to keep up the energy to maintain them. But it's really important for call center managers and agents to understand these, find ways to recognize them when they happen, identify it quickly, and then coach team members about them. Again, that'll go back to the monitoring and coaching we just covered, but really, I want to help you identify those things that work, that make a caller feel good when they get off the phone call, and then help you can help your call center agents replicate it and do it more frequently. First, it starts with a smile. There's no doubt that a smile can be heard by a caller. You can walk around your call center right now or listen to a call blind with your eyes closed, and from any one of your team members, and you'll know if they're smiling. I promise you that. If you cannot hear a smile, or worse, if they sound maybe tired or like they don't care, you really need to act quickly to intervene, because that's a real issue, and I promise that it will rub off on your customers who call you. It's not about being the most enthusiastic person on the phone, or, oh, that's great, everything's fantastic. But a smile goes a long way to warming a caller and making them eager to seek out your help and to return to you when they need to find a return business. I think the next thing that's important is to be curious. We talked about call control earlier and how it can be the enemy of quality sometimes. And I think curiosity is the place where really that gets in the way of that is where efficiency and call control come into odds with curiosity and engagement. You'll hear call control and efficiency hawks. They'll demand that you stick to the script. You open up, you don't have any open questions. You only bring in questions that drive you to getting to the necessary information to get your call completed and to move on to the next one. But again, that just doesn't open up a connection with your caller. Being curious, it means being really genuinely thoughtful about the other person on the line, what they're going through, and what kind of help that they need. When somebody opens up about a problem or a need from you, asking something as simple as like, how are you doing, is a great thing, and it really builds rapport and connection with a caller. You'll hear from again, when we think about call control, that like to ask someone, how are you, ask a caller, how are you, would drive someone crazy. They want to know, what's your name, what's your phone number, tell me what's the nature of your problem, please be brief. You don't hear anything like, how are you doing, how'd that feel, well, what's going on over there today, tell me more about that. Those are questions that actually help your business run, because it can help you get the right person assigned to a job if you're running jobs, but it also makes the caller feel heard and cared about. So being curious is something that I think is really important, and is a place where you really need to start looking at that balance between efficiency and call control, and then quality. So again, as you're curious, it's going to allow you to open up and then reflect what your customers tell you on the phone, and then really truly empathize with them. Without curiosity, you'll never get to reflection and empathy. Some things that you can listen for with empathy, and these might be the agents who are really naturals at it, is when you walk around your call center, or if you're listening to calls, you'll hear them say things like, oh, it must be really hot there, I'm really sorry about that. Or, wow, that sounds like it must be a mess. We'll get you some help with it. Tell me more about that. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, wow, that's great. When somebody tells you about something that's going well. All of these things are things that you want to listen to, because that's a significant sense that your agents are being empathetic. And it's things that you should encourage, because it makes your callers feel better. So empathy, and reflection, repeating when somebody says what their problem is, actually allows you to be empathetic to them. So if somebody says, it's really hot, the temperature's at 88 degrees in the house, the air conditioner went out this morning and we've been gone all day, we didn't know it wasn't running. You've been gone all day, the air conditioner's running, it's at 88 degrees. Wow, that's really hot. I'm so sorry. We're going to help you. Those are the kinds of things that you'll hear from your call center agents when they're being empathetic. It's sometimes hard to coach it, but it's really, when you're paying attention, easy to hear it. So listen for it, and then find ways that you can, again, encourage that from your other team members, because it's going to go a long way to making your customers believe that you care about them. I should say, but another thing that you've heard a lot about probably is positive phrasing. This is another place where your call control guys will tell you all about positive phrasing. Somebody asks you a question, you can't do it, so you say, well, I can do this, or we'll take care of it this way. Don't ever say, I'm not sure, or I can't. All of those are really great. They're great statements, and you want to bring positive phrasing, but also you don't want to do that at the expense of sounding like you're trying to get one over on your customer, or maybe avoid a difficult truth for you, like maybe you don't have anyone available tonight. It sometimes is a very truth. We're booked up tonight. We're really sorry. Be upfront about it. Always, though, with an alternate solution that you can offer to your customer. But don't just offer alternate solutions that ignore the request that the customer's making. If you can't do something that they really want you to do, you need to be prepared to tell them, apologize, and offer an alternate solution. So you want to finish that off with making agreements with your callers. Ask them, how's that sound? Is this okay? Can we do this? What do you think about that? Let them say yes, because when they say yes, they're coming to an agreement, and they're happy to join you in the next step from your customer service agent. Maybe that's a dispatcher who's going to have to talk to them about when somebody's going to be out later, or any number of other things. It could be an administrative person who's going to need to talk to them about some prices later, or who knows what else. But getting them to an agreement and letting them know that they're happy is going to go a long way to just getting them back and making them feel like they made a connection with your team members. The last thing, and again, this sounds simple, but it's honestly, it's amazing how often people don't say thank you or show real true gratitude. But listen for that in your call center agents. They need to be gracious and show thanks for the opportunity to help someone. You can look around and listen to people to see if they're truly gracious and grateful for your customers calling. You can see if somebody's annoyed when the phone rings instead of happy, or they feel like they just want to get out of there instead of helping your customers. You may need to do some serious intervention with people who feel like that. It doesn't mean that they can't get on board, but being gracious and saying thank you is a really important part of providing a meaningful connection with your customers and your callers. So please encourage that from your agents. All right, so these are the last questions to reflect on. First, how do you feel when you listen to calls or when you walk through your call center? How do you literally feel when you listen to calls? Okay. And then what do you want your customers to feel like when they call for you? Finally, what feedback do you get from your customers? Okay, so where do we go from here? I've got some jobs for you to do, a to-do list that you can walk out from this presentation, and hopefully it'll help you get better quality from your call center agents. First, you define what success for a call is. We talked about that. What is the objective that you have for your call center agents when they answer the phone? If it's generate revenue for the company, I need you to think about how you are going to get them to do that from maybe people who aren't ready to buy from you, or don't have an immediate need to buy anything from you. So be thoughtful about what is the objective that you have from your calls. What do you want the end result of each of your calls to be when your call center agent's done with it? Next, create a tool that's going to allow you to evaluate that success. If you determine that the objective is X, what are the 25 things or 5 things or 2 things that need to happen for you to know that X is achieved? Write it down, understand it, make sure you can explain it to everyone, and hit all of the key points that are important to you. After you do that, you need to train your team on how to use it. Make sure that they all understand it. You're going to need to understand it, but create it, and then give it to your team, and then implement it. After you implement it and you start scoring it and using that tool, start getting feedback from people, including your customers. Look at your outcomes that are important to you, whether it be percentage of closed, if it's closed revenue, or new sales, or converted or job conversions. Look at all those outcomes, see how they're doing, and make sure that your tool is driving towards that. Get feedback from the people who are responsible for using it, whether it be your call center agents, also from your customers. How do they like it? What does it feel like to them whenever they're done with it? Is it meeting the needs that you had set out whenever you set out on this path? If not, revise it, throw out the things that work, and keep the things that don't. But always be revising your tools that you use to evaluate success. Make sure that it's actually working, because a lot of times they don't. And what you think when you start it can have unintended consequences. So watch out for those. And that's it. So thank you so much for your time, your interest today. I would love to field questions personally from you. You can send those to me at the email address that you see in front of you, or you can please call for me. I would love to hear from you today or any day. So thank you so much. It's been great to share this with you.